back. It is Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and do a topic video. Now, I haven't done one of these in a little while, so there is something I've been wanting to talk about that I know I haven't really touched on videos before, and that is the whole McFarland Platinum chase figures that he likes to do. I know it can get a little bit annoying. I know some people are really against it. And I know there's a big, fanatical portion of the collectors that love to hunt these down and add them to their collection. Now, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this was because I recently did win the platinum version of Spectre on that QL raffle thing that McFarland does. And I know it is kind of disappointing because a lot of my fellow collectors are not able to get their hands on this. And although it was pretty expensive, I consider it to be really expensive for one figure. You can find these right now on the secondary market, but they are going for like 150 and up. So I can really understand why this would be really frustrating for a lot of collectors. Now, though I am very thankful to have actually scored this on that raffle, it did kind of bring something to mind, and that was that I have my own way that I collect platinum figures, and we'll actually have to go back to the very beginning to start off. Now, I will not be opening this one because of one of the rules that I have in my collecting habit. And this rule did come about because when McFarland started doing these platinum figures, sometimes they were just really hard to find or really expensive, and I had to adjust the way I collect to make it more reasonable to me that I wouldn't be really overpaying for these figures to the point where I just didn't feel right doing it. And it has become a pretty touchy subject amongst collectors. Now, upon their initial inception, we did have the bronze and gold editions from Arkham Batman. And although I was able to pick up the two bronze figures, I was just never able to hunt down the gold versions. And to this day, they are still really pricey on the secondary market. You are basically looking at around 100 for the gold Arkham Knight Batman. And I'm kind of happy that this happened at the at the very beginning of the platinum figures, because once that happened, I kind of lost interest in really chasing down these platinum figures. Now, remember what I said, and that is that if you really are, fanatical about the platinums and you must have them, that's completely your choice. I'm not saying that you're wrong in what you're doing, but what I'm saying is that this is what I've experienced, and I kind of feel that sometimes people need to step back and just realize that sometimes it's just not that important. And I kind of have a feeling like even McFarlane himself didn't know where he was actually, going to take these, because they have, morphed over time through different versions. So basically, when it came obvious to me that some of these were going to be pretty hard to track down as they were very rare, and you know, I wasn't really completely willing to pay an astronomical price for them, although I do consider myself a completist. I just knew I had to restructure the way I collected, especially when it came to the platinum figures. So the way I kind of decided to go with it was that if I find them in the wild, that's awesome. I will pick them up. And if I never find another one, if I only have one platinum figure, I will just keep it in box to add to my complete mint inbox collection. Now, if I ever found a second one for a really nice price or just randomly came across one out in the wild, then that one I would be willing to open up and display. But one thing I knew for sure was that I was definitely not going to, go out of my way to hunt them down or even think about paying, triple, quadruple the original retail price. It's just something that I didn't want to do. So if I ever, came across one and I had it in box in my collection, then I was perfectly fine with that. I think I had the blue version of Dr. Fate that GameStop actually sent to me, and I just kept that one in box, and I never came across another one. I never found one online that I really wanted to buy for the price that they were asking. So I was completely content with that one blue Dr. Fate. Now, McFarland started off with certain versions of characters. It was very minimal, the platinums we were receiving. I think the Silver Gorilla Grodd was another one that was out there. And then, for some reason, he went into the gray versions of the platinum. Now, a lot of people despise these versions. A lot of people enjoyed these versions and collected them all. One thing I do know is that there was that whole Swamp Thing disaster where a lot of people were waiting for the regular green Swamp Thing. And when they finally received their orders from GameStop and from Amazon, everybody was receiving that gray platinum version of Swamp Thing. Really, one of the big fails for McFarlane. I think a lot of people were not too happy with that. But he did continue those gray versions throughout tons of waves and tons of different figures. I actually remember, coming across some of them at Walmart. And I would always say, I'll pick it up just to add it to the collection, but I don't necessarily have to have one open. I could just have one and keep it in box. And I still think to this day, I do not have an open gray platinum from McFarland. I actually think one of the only ones that I am going to ever open is going to be the Platinum Swamp Thing because I ended up getting two of those, but I just never came around to opening one of them up. And even to to right now, it's not a big, priority for me. Now, even up to right now, at this point in time, you can look for them online, and some of them still ask for a pretty penny, but some of them are rather easy to pick up. So, the great thing was not really a big success, although it did have its true hardcore fans. And now we have moved on to a more alternate chase version of figures that are released from McFarlane. Now, I kind of remember some of the original ones of these just, started trickling out in stores, like the Goggles Up Affleck Batman from the Justice League, which is actually one that I have never come across. I never found it for a good price. I'm pretty sure right now it's still going for around $100. And if I never have it, it's not, the end of the world. And that's the main thing I'm trying to, you know, express with this video. And that is that sometimes you just gotta keep calm, stay collected, and don't, you know, wig out because you cannot find a figure. This kind of goes into how I actually collect McFarlane's DC Multiverse, and that is that I'm kind of laid back. I don't have to have, every figure first. I don't have to be the first one to review a figure. I've gotten to the point where I can even, sit on figures. And although I would probably, get more views if I reviewed it, as soon as I pick them up, I still procrastinate a lot and it takes me a while to actually get the reviews in, but that's perfectly fine. And remember what I'm saying, and that is that if people do want to go out there and, be the first to get it and get the review up, and that's what other reviewers do, that's perfectly fine. That's their business. I don't hold any, ill will to them for doing that. That's part of what they're, on the tube doing. and that's good for them. But I just have a completely different approach where I know that eventually I will pick up all the figures that I want. And, if I get lucky out in the wild and I find a figure before a lot of other people, then that's, great. And I will actually accept that with limited enthusiasm. But I just feel like we do need to keep it all in perspective sometimes. Now, even McFarland is sometimes, he pulls a fast one on us. Like, I think the gray Catwoman, which I actually have right here, and the Jay Garrick Platinum figure were just ones that were just released and we never even knew about them until people were actually finding them in stores. And although a lot of people hate this, and I think I heard someone say, like, oh, nobody does chase figures anymore. That's so old school. That's, ridiculous that McFarlane does that. But guess what? McFarlane does do it. And there's nothing you can say, there's nothing you can do that's going to make him change his ways or stop him from doing what he's doing. Because as we have found out, McFarlane basically does whatever he wants. And even all the more recent platinums can really vary in price. Some end up being not, sought after. You could still get them for maybe $40. Like, I think the steel platinum figure is one that, a lot of people don't really hunt after that much. I've seen them for like $35, $40. Another one that really surprised me was the Dark Knight Rises Catwoman. That one as well, you could, find it online for around $40, which for platinums, it is really not that bad. And that just goes to show you how we really never know which ones will become rare. It's all pretty much a guessing game, and you got to try and just get the figures that you want, that mean something to you, and that you want to add into your collection. For example, this gray platinum Catwoman, the Nightfall version, it is one of the more expensive platinums that you'll find on the secondary market. And I remember some people laughed at me because I actually got mine from Big Bad Toy Store. It was like $46 or something like that. And they're like, "Oh, you're paying $40 for a crappy McFarlane figure." Yeah, but I collect DC Multiverse. I have her in my collection, and I know that a lot of people wish they had her in their collection. And one of the worst things about this is people are still buying them, collectors are still buying them. I think even some people know that platinums are more sought after, so they see them in stores and they pick them up just to try and get a little bit of money out of them on the secondary market. But, it is what it is. So, what can we actually do about this? Well, you're not going to change McFarlane's tactics. So, I think the only thing you can really do is try not to spend a crazy amount of money on a platinum figure. Now, if you're a die-hard collector and you really want it, and the cheapest you've ever seen it is 80 or $100, then it is all on you. You do you. I will not hate you for it. You want to have that figure in your collection, go ahead and do it. I got no problem with that. But what other more grounded collectors do is they make rules for themselves. If I find it, cool. If someone offers me one at a good price, cool. But just keep it under control and don't go all crazy, uh, getting into some sort of mania for these platinum figures. And the last thing I want to talk about is, of course, everybody's finding the Plastic Man wave in stores. They're finding the platinum versions. I think the Superman page punchers are also finding these figures in stores. I know sometimes it's kind of hard. I know when you see other people finding figures, I know it can be a little bit disheartening when you go to all the stores around you and you don't find anything. But that is why I say you must, keep it in control. It's not the end of the world. The world's not going to end because you didn't find a platinum figure at the store. And I think on Monday, I received my wave of the Plastic Man figures from McFarland. Now, I didn't get any platinum versions. I got all of the standard versions, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Why? Because I know eventually I'll more than likely be able to hunt down the platinum versions. And there's also something you should know about these platinum versions and really any figure, and that is that upon its initial release, the price will be really high. People will be scrambling. You're going to be seeing these platinums for $100. But if you can keep your wits about you and be patient, the price will steadily even off to where hopefully you'll be able to get these for $40, which is not bad for a platinum. Maybe eventually one day you'll go into a store and you'll just find a platinum that you're looking for. And for me, that is a lot better than, feeding into the beast of, everybody scrambling to overpay for these figures and act like if you cannot add the platinum versions to your collection, then your collection isn't worth anything. But this is far from true. Everybody's collection is their own collection. It has value to them. That is what we should try and do, is collect what we like, what we enjoy, and don't focus so much on what everybody else is doing. But anyways, that's my thoughts, guys. You guys let me know down in the underground your horror stories of platinums. But one thing for sure, and that's keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.